Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Monday morning trading room. Bear with me here a moment while I get the screen share going on. Trying to do too many things at once. I'm no multitasker. All right. So Friday's session, well, actually all of last week was pretty darn dismal. The market not really doing a whole lot. In fact, you can see our daybreak lines are starting to close in on us here. They're just barely the minimum distance that we're looking for. Just tells us how quiet the marketplace is right now. We're opening this morning with a little bit of a gap, a little bit of an overnight gap from where we left off on Friday. So we'll have to give them a few minutes here to settle in, try to get a handle on what's going on. Right now, though, with that big gap up, it does appear that the bulls still have control of the marketplace. But we're kind of at the top end of the trading range. And what I mean by that, if we view this as a trading channel, and there's sort of the top end of the channel. Oops. You can see we're coming up a little bit short, actually. Very often, this is an easy way to spot a market that may be reversing, is if you channel your trades with trend lines. You'll see the market come up short on the top end of the trend line and then eventually begin reversing. Another way to accomplish that, you know how we're always drawing trend lines and bull trends across the lows? Well, you can also draw trend lines in bull trends across the highs. Kind of like connecting the dots, doing a connect a dot when you were a kid. And what's going to happen is, let's say the market's going to top out here, we're going to start to see a lower swing. It's going to be visibly lower. You can see even this one was sideways. It didn't end up going any lower. When you see the market start to lean lower, then again, that's a very good indication that a trend change may be developing. And you can do that with all your charts, not just the eagle chart, but with the raptor or falcon or hawk, whatever you like. Mark killing it out of the gate here. Mark says, I took that late filter entry signal at 5 a.m. Pacific. Started my day with $300 on that late filter on the Falcon, 5 a.m. Pacific on 3 contracts, all in, all out. A good day so far. Yes, nice start to the week, Mark. Well done. Scott says, how about drawing a pitchfork? I still haven't figured that one out. Sure, let's draw pitchforks. Andrew's pitchfork is a pretty nifty indicator. What Mr. Andrew recognized was that the market tends to trend around a norm. This is similar to, well, the same but different to what Gann suggested. Gann suggested that trends move at certain angles, but Andrew's pitchfork, he says that once a trend is established, it will tend to gravitate around a mean. So essentially what you're looking for is you're looking for a big reversal. So you probably draw your pitchfork like this. Here's the start of the pitchfork down here. Here's the top end. Here's the bottom. And now your trend develops from here. And the idea is this is kind of the center line of the trend. And you can see how the market tries to stay around there. As it gets toward the bottom end of the pitchfork, it's going to try to get back toward the middle. And if it gets toward the top end of the pitchfork, it's going to try to get back toward the middle again. It's an interesting concept. The problem with some of these drawing tools is that you can get a little carried away. I've seen Andrew's pitchforks that look like a spider web. But if you're just using it to help define the overall trend, then yeah, sure, why not? But like I said, people start, instead of looking at it as the bigger tool, they start micromanaging, and they'll do things like this. They'll start drawing mini little pitchforks, and then they'll have their big pitchfork overlaid, and it just all becomes very confusing. But I think if you keep the bigger picture, stop it. If you keep the big picture in mind, you'll probably do okay. I've shared with you guys before how Ed Sequoia, one of the turtle traders and still a very famous trader, I heard it said that he used to print off a chart, put it on the wall of his office, and go stand at the other side of the office just so that he could see the overall trend, right? He wanted the big picture. He didn't care so much about the little deviations. He was looking for a trend. He wanted to be on the right side of that trend. Yeah, Scott says, I never drew it that far back or that big. Yeah, and that's the problem with a lot of these tools is, like I said, people have a tendency to micromanage them. Short term, the market's going to bounce around, right? It's a struggle between the buyers and sellers. Each one is trying to get an upper hand. Now, does the pitchfork show you something that you wouldn't see with a trend channel? You know, if if you got up from your desk and you went to the other side of your office and you look back at your monitor, which way is this market trending? Like, I don't think you'd have any difficulty drawing a bullish trend channel and saying, yeah, okay, this market's in an uptrend. I'm going to, if I'm going to have a short, it's going to be up here from around 61.20. And if I'm going to have a long, it's going to be down here around 6100. Okay, there's your trading plan. So now the big question comes, do you have the patience? That's the hard part, I think, because we're all so impatient, and I'm not talking down to anybody. Sometimes I'm the worst. Here's a fun fact about trading. 75% of all breakouts will fail. Here, let's do it here on the Raptor. No, actually, let's do it on the Eagle. It's a little bit cleaner. So 75% of all breakouts fail. What do I mean by that? Okay, well, here we've got an uptrend forming. At this time, we probably would have drawn the trend line like this, right? When all this was going on before any of this printed, here, I'll roll it over. We would have drawn a trend line like this. The market breaks to the downside. What most traders do when they see a trend line break is they think, oh, the trend is changing. Well, yes, it is. It's changing for the short term. But until we see a full-on test of the extreme and a failure, preferably after a trend line break, it's really too early to call it a trend change. So if you draw a trend line on your chart, or you're watching your moving average or your cloud or whatever, if you see a break, there's a very good chance that 3/4 of the time that breakout will fail. So here we have a break to the short side. I am not bearish yet. In fact, I'm bullish. Why? Because I know that 3/4 of all breakouts fail. Here is a bearish breakout from a bullish trend. So we come back and we produce a red bar buy signal. That's one of our high probability signals. By the way, this is why these high probability signals work out, because they're usually preceded by a trend line break or a breakout of some sort. You could even go back here and you could do a horizontal breakout. Okay, the market breaks above the high. 75% of all breakouts fail. That's why we had this little bear push lower. But you see, because of the constant struggle between the buyers and the sellers, you can never say with an absolute, oh, the market broke above the high. Eric says 75% of all breakouts fail, therefore the market's going to move lower. Well, yes, there's a good chance it will move lower, and you can count on that, but it may not be a full-on trend reversal. Right? So these things always move back and forth, back and forth. And then when one side ultimately takes the lead, well, then we're good to go. Okay, so we're sneaking up on the 6120 area that we were looking at. And I'm not going to get a sell signal here on the Eagle. The Raptor is probably going to be one of the first to give me a sell signal. The Falcon might give me a double dot You see, here they come, taking a little bit of a bounce off of the resistance zone. Now this is a full-on counter trend trade. It's not, again, something that would fall into a high probability category. But it does present us with an opportunity. You know, patience is really the biggest virtue a trader can have. You know, we've looked at this channel that we have, and so we've identified where the market should be selling from and where it should be buying from. And you can see how our signals coincide with these zones. But knowing that we have an uptrend, are you patient enough to wait an hour or two or three until you finally get that signal? And most people don't. Most people aren't able to do that. Most people won't wait. And yet that's precisely what you should be doing. All right, folks, if you excuse me for just a moment, I'm going to be right back, and then we'll continue to look for that possible counter-trend signal that's going to form. Okay, I'm back. What did I miss? Oh, not a lot, but we are still kind of drifting sideways. My goodness, the markets have been slow. Painfully so. Hmm. Scott's watching the Russell. He said it went nuts on I'm assuming a number 3 signal. We'll see whether any of that filters back into the NASDAQ market. I've also got an eye on gold today, and the euro, both of which not doing a whole lot right now. So we're just watching and waiting. Here's a great tip from Floyd. Floyd's watching crude oil. Floyd writes, remember my question on crude oil start times? I decided to wait until 6:30 and missed a head fake today. I think I'll stay at this time until something changes. It's probably a good idea. Crude oil also very stagnant. All the markets have been very reluctant to do anything. Scott says if there was a Trump index, it would go crazy. Yeah, at least we'd have something to trade. We're producing something resembling a buy signal here, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to bite just yet. Floyd says the mid cap's moving a bit, so those of you following the EMD, there might be something going on. I'm surprised though if the Russell has a little giddy up and the mid cap is moving now, it's going to trickle down into the other stock indices. They really haven't moved outside of this little sideways range that we established to start the day. Just stuck. here in the Raptor now, we do have something resembling a test of the extreme. Kind of a little itty-bitty triple top. We'll see whether or not we come back with a sell signal now. That could be interesting. As we continue to trade in slow motion, all right, we're into yellow bars. So start, there's the sell signal. I'm going to hop in with a sell order. And you can see the number 2 signal printed. This now a counter trend move. The target, the hard edge of the trading band, which is pretty darn ambitious, but hey, we've waited this long. Might as well swing for the fences. I know you can barely stand the excitement, the thrill of trading. I don't know if Paul's equating my trade to the Dodgers or if he's just a Dodgers fan, but he says, let's go Dodgers. Turner was swinging for the fences when he hit a home run in the bottom of the ninth. Yes, very dramatic. Or maybe it was the Dodger blue here on the Raptor that spurred him on. Here we go. Come on. Get down there. We've exceeded our high probability profit target. So if you're taking profit on target, we are there. Thanks, Floyd. Floyd says the mini Dow is also on the move. I have a feeling when this dam breaks, we're going to be dealing with both hands here, just taking trades left, right, and center. There is a lot of market momentum building, I think. Okay, I just keep flinching ahead of the break-even line here. You can see I'm one tick away. I'm going to force the trade to break even. All right, so we've hit the break even. Floyd says the mini Dow's selling, oh, sorry, Paul says the mini Dow's selling off hard. And it looks as though it may influence or have some influence here on the NASDAQ. I could try to take it down here to the median line, but I think that may be pressing it a little bit too much. So you can see here's the bottom end of that channel that we looked at earlier. And even at 6102, I might be asking a little bit much. We'll bring this up a couple of ticks. Richard's asking, are you expecting a bounce at primary resistance? Yes, I do anticipate some sort of reaction here. You can see the market reacted twice before, but I'm hoping we're going to get to the hard edge before that happens. In fact, what I should do is I should really squeeze the trade. I'm going to squeeze it hard now. There we go. That's all you get. Yeah, see again here it's 6103. I think the swing is going to go lower if we break out below this low. We're probably going to eventually develop into a trend change signal to the short side. The market probably does owe me one more retest of the high. Okay, so I got taken out on that reaction. There's only a couple of ticks off on the profit target, but that's all right. It was still a good trade. You know, it's the kind of business you don't want to be, what do they say, missing dollars, tripping over pennies, or something like that. Oops, wrong button. Where'd you go? So now we're probably going to get a hard edge bounce. We're probably going to get a buy signal. We're very likely to see the market try to retest these highs, but you can see according to our little trend channel that we've drawn, or even if you don't want to draw a channel that way, if you just want to highlight the highs, like so, that would be our target. Richard here is, there's a trading quote that I think Richard's alluding to. He says, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I heard it, bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered, or hogs get slaughtered. Meaning, don't get greedy. Trying to get those last couple of ticks. Are probably going to end up burning you in the end. It was a good little trade though. $120, nothing wrong with that. I was just looking at the bond market here. It's really quiet as well. Nothing is moving. Oh well, you can't make the markets do anything, so all you can do is hang out and wait for your opportunity. Scott has a question here about the Raptor filter. One second. Scott says, or asks, what are your thoughts on the Raptor filter? At a brick size of 12, it stayed long through the NASDAQ drop, but the filter is set, if the filter is set to half the mean Renko size, the filter turned short at about the price drop. That half the mean Renko bar size is not filtering enough. Okay, well, the Raptor filter is actually the whole Eagle trend trader. It's all been programmed into here. So if the Raptor is blue, the Eagle trend trader will be long. If the Raptor is red, the Eagle trend trader will be short. The Eagle trend trader, being a trending tool, of course, is going to be a little slower on the turn than some of the other signals. If we had based the Raptor filter, say, on the Hawk, well, it would have been very responsive. I don't let the Raptor filter deter me from taking a short position because I know the counter trend is counter trend, right? I don't expect the Raptor to be, or the filter to be in sync with the trend, because the number 2 signal is, of course, a counter trend signal. When you're looking at your with trend signals, it's desirable to have it in sync. But that said, I'll even take a with trend signal if the Raptor filter is out of sync, if the conditions are right. It's hard to give you a good illustration because the market conditions, you can see the last few days have just been dismal. Everything's so sideways, a lot of repeating signals, no real follow through. But you're almost, as far as your counter trend signal goes, your number 2 signal, I think it's always going to print opposite your filter. Your with trend signals, well, very often the filter will be in sync, but not so much on the counter trend. I still try to let the price confirm the signal, just as we were doing here with this number 2 signal. We suspected there would be some resistance around the 6120 area. We had the teeny tiny retest of the extreme, right? The market was taking forever to build these bars, tries to go a little bit lower, doesn't, tries to go a little bit higher, doesn't. Okay, now I'm interested. Drops a few bars, produces the sell signal. So we have, as far as price is concerned, as far as the price activity, we have a viable short. Even if this number 2 did not print the prompt, I would still have considered that a valid number 2 signal, a valid counter trend signal. But it's a good question, Scott. You know, I'm glad you asked it, because a lot of people are probably wondering, does my filter need to be in sync all the time? No, not on the Raptor. And actually not so much on the Eagle, but certainly on the Falcon, if you're particularly looking at that late filter entry signal, where the filter goes out of sync, it has to come back into sync. The signal has to print, and the trend line never changes color. It's a deal breaker on the Hawk as well. For instance, here macro pullback signal, if your filter were out of sync, well, then it's no longer a valid signal. Likewise here, if the filter turns green, well, then that's going to spoil the macro pullback signal. So we've got an eagle signal here now, kind of off of the hard edge, and we're getting a second push opportunity on it. It's below the ATR, which is a little bit of a concern. right, and a second push as well. So, you know, can I cover it below there? Ooh, I can. It's a little bit rich, but maybe I should just try it below that last swing here at the hard edge. But we'll see if they, I don't want more than one contract. So if they fill me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll my stop up below here. Looks like currently it's only the eagle giving us a signal. You can see my target, the top end of this trading range that we've identified. I don't know, it might be a little ambitious, but you never know. You can see the conflicting signals. Here's a 4-arrow consolidation in the hawk. So the hawk, quite bearish already. The falcon, it's mixed up. The trend line's already changing, the filter changing. The raptor also very neutral, and the eagle slightly bullish. This, by the way, is characteristic of these types of market conditions. Namely, you've got a market that's very indecisive. Floyd says the mid-cap moved again. Did it go up or down, Floyd? I'm guessing from the uptick here in the NASDAQ, maybe it moved higher. Oh, Floyd says no, moved down. All right then. Seems like the mid cap and the YM moved before the NASDAQ the last time. Let's see whether or not that holds true this time as well. Like I said, there is a 4-arrow consolidation here in the Hawk. Okay, so the Raptor now flashing a hard edge buy signal, pretty much confirming the same kind of signal that we just saw on the Eagle. And here too, I'm only going to go in with a single contract. Oop, maybe you got to do it like this. It's the duplicate trade as what we're getting here on the Eagle. The Hawk 4-arrow consolidation, it's kind of voided. There is no such thing as a 6-arrow or 7-arrow consolidation. Today's volume seems just as dismal as Friday's, and for most of last week's actually. Well, we're going to button up shop here in a moment. This is about all the excitement I can stand for one day. Elmer's asking, Eric, have you come across the problem that the results of the trades you did are not shown in the account box of the trade manager and account performance? What I do, Elmer, because I find the values distracting, if you click on this, you can toggle through it. So you can have the dollar amount, you can have ticks, you can have a percentage of your capital, or you can void it out. So I find it distracting. So that's why I turn it off. If you like watching the dollars tick by, then by all means, leave it on. For me personally, however, I try to make a decision based on what I see on the chart rather than what the dollar value is there. Now, it's not all bad to see the dollars tick by. Sometimes you can have a fair amount of open profit and not realize how much money you actually have in play. Elmer asks, yes, but if you click on it, it should be shown after the trade, and that's not working anymore. No, it's the same, Elmer. I'm not in a trade right now. This is the trade we did earlier when we shorted here, picked up $120. See, I don't have a trade going right now. So that's the P&L on the Raptor this morning. But like I say, I find it distracting, so I turn it off. We had no Falcon trades, so there's no P&L here in the Falcon. No Hawk trades. And no Eagle trades yet. It's, like I said, I find it distracting. Occasionally, if I'm in a trade, excuse me, and the market has made a big move one way or the other, I will turn it on to see how much open profit I have. Because I've also got a bit of a pain threshold. If a trade is up $300, I know from experience that is a big move. So we're talking single contracts now. If the market moved, well, even in today's market conditions, you can see if we move about $120, $150, that's about as big a swing as we're going to get. All told, from top to bottom, this is probably a $200 move. So market swings tend to move within ranges. So knowing that the current swings are moving about $200 from top to bottom, there's no point in me having a $400 target because I'm probably not going to get it. So if I'm in a big trade and the market seems to have moved a long way, I'll check my P&L, and if I see that, hey, I'm up $200 on a trade, and I know that the market's only been making about $200 ranges, I'm going to get much more aggressive with my stops, maybe even just punch out with profit. But yes, I've had people ask me about that before. And the reason I blank it out is I just find it distracting. Especially, I suppose, especially if it's a negative number. It's not so bad looking at a positive 120. But if you've had a bad morning and it's like minus 385, it's like, oh gosh, do I really want to look at that? No, I don't think so. I'll just blank it out. All right, gang. Looks like we're kind of grinding to a halt here. If we get above 112, 661.12, there is a chance the market is going to try to retest the highs, but it's really a dismal kind of trading day. This may end up being the test of the extreme right here. You see how this almost looks a little bit like a bear flag after the move lower. So it's really a tough call, and here we are back in the middle of today's trading range. It's just all very neutral. Not the best spot to be getting into a trade, I suppose. But we'll try it again tomorrow. Hopefully the markets will be a little bit more cooperative at that time. And I will talk to you then. Bye for now.